there, welcome to the Focus Podcast with Taralee. This is the place where we talk about real life, real relationships, and how to grow through it all. If you're looking for simple mindset shifts, better communication, and deeper connections, you're in the right spot. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Focus Podcast with Taralee, where we talk about how to strengthen relationships, especially the ones that matter most. I'm your host, Taralee, a relationship coach and founder of Peaceful Heart Journey. Today's topic is one that can shift the entire energy of your home. We're talking about emotional safety. What is emotional safety and why does it matter so much? And how can you begin creating it for your teen and for yourself? If you've ever felt like your teen just won't open up or like every conversation turns into a battle, this episode is for you. Let's jump in. When I say emotional safety, what comes to mind? For many of us, the default is physical safety, making sure that our kids aren't in a dangerous situation. We think of seatbelts or curfews or stranger danger, but emotional safety, that goes even deeper. It's about what happens inside your teen, how they feel in your presence, and how safe they feel to be fully themselves. Let's define emotional safety. Emotional safety is the ability to be your authentic self without fear of judgment or criticism or rejection or punishment. This concept is foundational in psychology and in attachment theory. Dr. Daniel Siegel, he was the co-author of a book called The Power of Showing Up. He tells us that feeling safe in a relationship allows the brain to operate from its most integrated state, making connection, problem solving, and empathy possible. In other words, when your teen feels emotionally safe, their brain can stay regulated. They're more likely to engage or share or cooperate, not out of fear, but out of trust. Here's something that I find fascinating. The teenage brain is wired for extra sensitivity to social cues and emotional feedback. Research by Dr. Lawrence Steinberg, a leading developmental psychologist, shows that adolescents experience heightened emotional reactivity due to rapid brain development in the amygdala, the area that processes emotions, and then slower development in the prefrontal cortex, which is the area that handles logic and regulation. And what this means is that a raised eyebrow can feel like disapproval to your teen, or a heavy sigh might register to them as disappointment, or correction might be experienced as rejection to them. So when your teen suddenly withdraws or clams up after you've asked them a simple question, it's probably not because they're just being dramatic. It's because something in the interaction felt emotionally unsafe. Here's a truth that I want you to really hear. Your teen doesn't shut down because they don't care. They shut down because it doesn't feel safe to stay open. I've seen this over and over again in my coaching practice. When a teen senses that they'll be judged or fixed or misunderstood, their brain goes into self-protection mode. They avoid vulnerability because it feels too risky. But here's the beautiful part. When emotional safety grows, so does trust. And when trust grows, communication follows. And when communication is open, connection deepens. Brene Brown, who has spent decades studying vulnerability and connection, says it very powerfully. She says that connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. And that kind of connection requires emotional safety. Without emotional safety, here's what often happens. Teens bottle up their emotions and they might seek validation from unsafe or unreliable sources. They become more reactive or shut down completely. And sometimes they build emotional walls so high that even love can't get through unless we gently dismantle those walls. When we as parents focus on building emotional safety instead of control, we create conditions where our teens can trust us with their hearts again. I want you to remember this. Emotional safety isn't a one-time achievement. It's something we cultivate moment by moment with our tone, with our body language, and our consistency, and especially with our own emotional regulation. even if you didn't grow up with emotional safety yourself, you can be the one to change that pattern. You can learn and you can practice, and your teen is going to feel that shift. Because more than discipline and more than lectures, more than fixing, teens need to feel safe to be seen. And that starts with us. Okay, so let's move into this next section that I want to talk about. This part isn't about guilt and it's not about shame. It's about awareness. Because once you know what's getting in the way of emotional safety, you have the power to change it. Here are some of the most common blockers that I see in parent-teen relationships. Things that we've all done, often with the best of intentions. Number one is trying to fix instead of listening. This one is so universal. We love our teens and we don't want to see them hurt. So what do? Instead, we jump into solution mode. They say something like, I'm stressed about school, and we jump in and say, have you tried using a planner? Or let's email your teacher, or just do your best, that's all that matters. It comes from love, but to your teen it often feels like pressure or invalidation. Psychologist Dr. Michael Thompson put it well when he said that adolescents don't want us to rescue them, they want us to hear them. And research supports this. A 2015 study published by the Journal of Adolescence found that supportive listening without immediate advice or problem solving was significantly associated with higher levels of adolescent well-being. Sometimes the most helpful thing you can say is something like, that sounds hard. Do you want to vent or are you looking for ideas? This gives your teen a choice, and that autonomy builds emotional safety. The second thing I see is inconsistent emotional responses. Have you ever had a day where your teen came to you and you were calm and centered and fully present, you were having a great day, and the next day they said something similar but you snapped? We all have emotional weather or bad days, but for teens, emotional unpredictability, especially in a parent, can be confusing and even scary. Dr. Dan Siegel and Dr. Tina Payne Bryson wrote in the book The Power of Showing Up they wrote about the importance of being a safe haven, and this means being predictable, not perfect. They say that when we are emotionally unpredictable, our kids become hypervigilant. They stop expressing themselves in order to avoid triggering a reaction. Over time, this creates emotional withdrawal. Your teen may stop bringing things up, not because they don't need you, but because they're not sure which version of you they'll get. It's not about never getting upset. It's about repairing when you do, and practicing self-regulation so your teen doesn't have to manage your moods. The third thing I see is dismissing or minimizing their emotions. This one can be really hard to spot because it often sounds so logical. It's us saying, it's not that bad, or you're overreacting, or just calm down, or something like, this won't matter in 5 years. But here's the thing, when you minimize what feels big to your teen, you don't make it smaller, you make it lonelier. Like I mentioned earlier, developmentally, teenagers feel emotions more intensely than adults. Brain imaging studies show heightened activity in the limbic system, especially the amygdala, during emotional experiences. And that's why a breakup at 15 can feel devastating, because neurologically to them it is. Dr. Lisa Damour, psychologist and author of a book called Untangled, said that feelings are not problems to be solved. They are experiences to be validated. So instead of saying, it's not a big deal, try saying instead something like, I can tell this feels really intense, and I'm here for you. This validation is what builds the bridge to emotional safety. The fourth thing I see is unprocessed emotions in the parent. And this one might be a bit sensitive. You're a whole person with your own past and your own triggers and your own emotional wounds. If you're walking around emotionally flooded, stressed, angry, anxious, your teen feels it, even if you don't say a word. Kids are incredibly attuned to parental emotion. According to Dr. John Gottman's research on emotional coaching, parents who are unaware or dismissive towards their own emotions are less likely to be responsive to their child's emotional needs. That's not a character flaw, that's a call for compassion and support. You don't have to be perfectly calm all the time, but when you learn to name and manage your own feelings, you model emotional regulation for your teen. It might sound something like, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed today, so I might be a little bit off. I just wanted to let you know. Or something like, I reacted strongly earlier and that's on me. I'm so sorry. Those small moments of ownership teach your teen that it's okay to have emotions and it's okay to repair. We've all been there. If you've done any or all of these things, you're not alone. I have too, and every parent has. It's not about perfection, it's about awareness, because awareness creates space for change, and change leads to connection. Because when you know better, you do better. And you can shift, you can repair, you can rebuild emotional safety, one moment or one conversation at a time. Okay, so let's get to the heart of it here. How do you actually build emotional safety with your teen? I want to be really clear. It's not about walking on eggshells, and it's not about being a perfect parent or never messing up. It's about presence, and it's about ownership. It's about connection over control. So here are 5 powerful tools or small shifts that you can start using today that can create a safer emotional space for your teen and honestly for yourself too. The first one is to be a safe witness. One of the most healing things we can do for another person is to simply see them without trying to fix or judge or change them. Especially for teenagers who are in a season of emotional intensity and identity formation, being seen with compassion is everything. Dr. Brené Brown says that rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection. So the next time your teen comes to you and shares something hard or even just sighs dramatically, try pausing and breathe, get curious. Say something like, wow, that sounds really hard. I'm glad you told me. That must have felt overwhelming. You don't need to solve it. You just need to be there. That's emotional safety in action. The second thing is to validate their experience. Now, validating doesn't mean that you have to agree with everything that they do. Validation means that you're willing to enter into their inner world, to see things from their perspective and let them know that it makes sense. So let's say your teen is angry about something and it seems very small to you. Maybe their friend didn't text them back and they're starting to spiral. Instead of saying, that's not a big deal, try something like, yeah, that makes sense. I'd probably feel that way too if I were in your shoes. Validation diffuses emotional intensity. Dr. Adele LaFrance, a clinical psychologist and researcher in emotion-focused family therapy, tells us that validation reduces shame and strengthens the parent-child bond. It tells the child, you're not broken, you make sense. I feel like that is really powerful, especially for teens who often feel like their emotions are too much. Number 3 is to own your emotions without blame. This is one of the most transformative things that you can do. Instead of making your teen responsible for how you feel, try naming your emotions in a grounded, non-blaming way. For example, instead of saying, you're making me so angry, try something like, I'm feeling so overwhelmed and I want to talk about this calmly with you. This might sound subtle, but it makes a huge difference. You're saying, I'm in charge of my emotions and I want to stay connected with you. You're modeling emotional intelligence and at the same time you're preserving the safety of the space. Neuroscientist Dan Siegel calls this name it to tame it. When we name our feelings, we reduce emotional flooding in ourselves and in our kids. The fourth thing is to create rituals of connection. Sometimes we think that deep connection only happens in long heart-to-heart conversations, but real trust grows in everyday, ordinary moments. In the parenting world, we call these rituals of connection. They're simple, predictable practices that tell your teen, I'm here and I can see you and I care. Examples might include tech-free dinners, even if it's just once a week, or going for walks, even if they're silent the whole time, or waiting out the silence in a car ride until they're ready to talk. Dr. Lisa DeMore, a clinical psychologist and author specializing in adolescent development, tells us teens often open up when the pressure is off. That's why side-by-side conversations, like when you're driving, can be so powerful. So when your teen isn't opening up at the dinner table, don't panic. Try creating space, not pressure. Trust is a slow build. The fifth thing is repair after conflict, and I feel like this is perhaps the most important tool of all. You're going to mess up, and you're going to raise your voice, and you're going to overreact, and that doesn't disqualify you from being a great parent. What matters most is what happens after. One of the most powerful things you can say to your teen is that I'm sorry I lost my cool. That's not how I want to handle things, and I'm working on it. This doesn't make you weak, it makes you safe. It makes you human, and it teaches your teen that relationships can bend without breaking. Research from Drs. John and Julie Gottman show that repair attempts, even small ones, are one of the strongest predictors of healthy long-term relationships. So every time you repair, you're planting seeds of safety and trust. These 5 tools aren't quick fixes, but they're powerful practices. And when used consistently, they shift the energy in your home. You start to see less defensiveness and more openness, and you'll notice less withdrawal and more connection, and a whole lot more peace. Now, here's a part that often gets missed, and it's emotional safety for you. We talk so much about creating emotional safety for our teens, but what about you? You need emotional safety too. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you certainly can't offer what you don't have. If you're constantly judging yourself, if you're feeling like you're failing, if you don't feel safe to express your feelings, how can you model emotional safety? I want to invite you to ask yourself these questions. Do I feel emotionally safe in my own body right now? Do I have someone I can talk to without being judged? What do I need to feel supported and seen? Your needs matter just as much as your teens, and that's one of the reasons I created Peaceful Heart Journey, to give parents like you a space to grow and heal and reconnect with yourself. Because when you feel emotionally safe, you become a calm anchor for your teen. So please be gentle with yourself. You are doing brave work, and your emotional safety matters. Okay, let's recap what we've covered today. Emotional safety is the foundation of a strong, connected parent-teen relationship. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present, honest, and willing to grow. Listen more than you speak. Validate before you correct, and always come back and repair when needed. And probably the most important part is to extend emotional safety to yourself too. You can't give what you don't have. So I have a takeaway challenge for you. Tonight, when your teen shares something with you, whether it's big or small, try saying something to them like, "Thank you for sharing that with me. I'm here for you." Just hold space for them. Don't try to fix or judge, and watch what happens when you offer safety without strings attached. If today's conversation spoke to you and you're ready to create real change in your relationship with your teen, I'd love to personally walk with you on this journey. I offer private one-on-one coaching through an 8-week guided experience. It's done through a Zoom call or a Google Meets, and it's all online. And I work with parents all over the country. We'll work together to strengthen your bond and build trust and help you as a parent with more confidence and connection. Like I said, it's just one-on-one. It's just you and me, tailored to your family's needs and at your pace, and we work on your goals for your family. Spots are very limited so that I can give each family the attention that they deserve. And I've already started a wait list. I'd love to invite you to grab your spot before it fills up. And if you have a teen who's struggling or just going through some big emotions, I have something for them too. Starting on June 16th, I'm offering a special 4-week session just for teens. This is to help them build emotional resilience and self-awareness and confidence. It's all online, and it's flexible and totally focused on helping them thrive in today's world. These sessions are also limited, so just a handful of teens, so that I can give them my full support. So here's what to do next. Join the wait list, grab your spot for either the parent coaching program or the teen resilience sessions, or both. You can find them at peacefulheartjourney.com, or I'll link the specific links in the show notes. Let's help you build connection and trust and peace that you know is possible. I'm here for you, and I believe in your family, so let's do this together. So thanks for joining me today on the Focus Podcast, and remember, what you focus on expands. Talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging out with me today on the Focus Podcast. If something stood out or helped you in some way, feel free to share it or leave a quick review. It means a lot. Keep showing up, keep growing, and I'll catch you in the next episode.